retro fans. I was recently in Play or Replay down in Blackpool, which is in the north of England if you're not from the UK. It's a kind of large retro event. It's great fun. You know, there's a big arcade there, lots of kind of home consoles all set up, loads of TVs, lots of games to play. But more importantly, lots of great people. I'm very lucky that, you know, friends on Facebook with a lot of developers and artists and things that created the games that I loved as a kid. And the great thing about going down to these events is you get to meet up with them, you know, chat away, geek out. You know, they're all great guys that are happy to sit and talk about all this retro nonsense, you know. So Replay was great fun. They also have a kind of trading area where you can go and buy things. And I got a few bits and bobs, but I bought a new console, which is what this video is about. All that rambling at the beginning. I bought a new console while I was there. It's a new, like, modern console, but it plays old games. So it's not a PlayStation 4. I wouldn't have a PlayStation 4, pointless. Anyway, it is this, the Retro Duo. This console is basically a kind of, it plays NES and SNES games basically. There's the back of the box. Just cover up my ugly mug. Yeah, it plays Nintendo and Super Nintendo games. I was always a Sega guy when I was a kid. I never had a Nintendo console. The first Nintendo console I had was the Nintendo 64, which I bought 5 or 10 years after it had died. You know, I picked it up second hand, and I really liked it. It's good fun. And I've got a Wii and all that kind of stuff, but I never had a NES or a SNES back in the day. But you know, there's a few cracking exclusive games for both those systems. So I don't really do emulation. You know, I will have a play with things just to see if I like a game before I buy it. But you know, I don't have emulation systems set up and all that kind of stuff other than my MAME cab. But I like having the controls. I like, you know, I like the tactility of the kind of proper controls, and putting in cartridges and all that kind of stuff. I think it's probably psychological, but you know, when you're looking for games and things, if you've got a box of games that you're flicking through and you're looking at the artwork and you know, it evokes whatever emotion and you think, oh, I'm going to play this. Scrolling through a text list of stuff on a screen just doesn't do that for me. You know, you scroll through and you think, God, I've nothing to play, even though you might have 800 games on a system. So, you know, I'd rather have a handful of real games and you think, oh, I'm going to play this. You know, because back in the day you didn't have thousands of games, you couldn't afford them. You had, you know, 10 games, 20 games or whatever, and you would play them. You know, people dip in and dip out, and they don't spend any time playing games anymore. Anyway, I'm completely rambling nonsense here. The Retro Duo was an easy way for me. You know, if I bought a NES and a SNES, a decent condition SNES would be, I don't know, 60, 70 quid, something like that. And a NES would probably be 40, 50 pounds, something like that, unboxed. The Retro Duo was 35 pounds. So, you know, it's a new console. There are advantages and disadvantages, obviously, to it being a new console. It's basically one of these clone consoles. And there are some advantages. It's multi-region, so it plays American and European games. It doesn't play Japanese games without a converter, because I think the cartridge itself is physically different. But I can't read Japanese, so the likelihood of me playing Japanese games are pretty slim. But yeah, it's multi-region, which is great. There is a downside to that, in that it's essentially set at 60 Hz all the time. So some PAL cartridges do run too quickly. Super Mario Brothers is one of those. I bought the PAL cartridge of Super Mario Brothers and it runs far too fast. I'll show you some gameplay video. I'll show you that and the kind of US version so you can compare and contrast. But it plays far too quickly, which is a shame. But some games, like the PAL version of Excite Bike, runs fine. So it's a little bit hit and miss. But all you do is buy NTS carts and you're pretty much guaranteed they're going to run as expected. The two SNES games that I have are both PAL copies and they run perfectly. But I'll get into all that in a little while. I'm basically going to do a little kind of review of the system. I'll let you see it. Talk about good points and bad points, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, enough of my nonsense. Let's have a look at the console. Okay, here we go. I've taken it out of the big box. This is what you get for your £35. This, like I said, I think in the intro, it's essentially a US console. Now I got this from Funstock, who had a stall down in Replay. You can go to funstock.co.uk if you're in the UK, obviously, and pick one of these up. I think they're around £50 normally on the website, but you can sign up to Funstock and I think you get 10% off your first order. And if you use the Games You Loved code GYL, you get an extra 5% off, so you can get 15% off this if you really fancied one. But anyway, here, let's have a quick look. So you get a kind of instruction booklet. It's fine. It's a couple of pages. It's nothing too exciting. You know, this is the Retro Duo version 3. I should point out. Let's just zoom in. There you go. Version 3. This has better compatibility with a few of the games apparently. Castlevania 3 being one of them. That seemed to be a big thing for some people. Probably shamefully, I've never played any of the Castlevania games. Something I may rectify if I can find them for a decent price that I don't have to mortgage the house for. So yeah, just a very basic kind of manual about hooking it up. You'll be able to hook this up, no bother. You don't really need the manual, but it's nice to have one anyway. So the console itself, let's see if I can get this out. Excuse my knees, hang on. Good God. Right, here we go. So the console itself, it's very light. I mean, I don't know, it maybe weighs about the same as a Nintendo 64. It's very light, but it's decently made. You know, it doesn't feel too cheap. But anyway, so sorry about this really bad camera work. I'm holding the camera in one hand, so so the ports at the back, you've got from left to right, you've got SVHS. Don't know if you can see that actually under the camera. The SVHS, your normal sort of composite, and your power. You do get a lead with this, which we'll show you in a second, which has all of them. As far as I'm aware, the SVHS only works on the Super Nintendo. It doesn't work on the NES. Doesn't really bother me. I don't use it anyway. There's nothing on the sides apart from air vents. On the front, you've got two controller ports, and as you can see just behind, they are clones of the Super Nintendo controllers. They're pretty good controllers. I'll show you those in a second. You can use real Super Nintendo controllers should you wish. You can't use NES controllers, obviously. It's a different port. I think you can buy adapter cables if you really wanted to. I did look into trying to get a zapper working with this so they could play Duck Hunt. That appears at the moment to be a bit of an impossibility. Maybe in the future. We'll see. Okay, so the front of the console, I'll just set it on here. You've basically got two ports. You've got this is your NES port, and you know, it's pretty good springs and things. You know, it's feels quite decent. This is your SNES port. All very good, and like I say, it takes PAL and NTSC carts, which is nice. A couple of indicators. There's an 8-bit and a 16-bit. The way this works is you put your carts in and you basically switch the power to 8-bit up for 8-bit, and that'll light up, and obviously it runs the NES carts. If you pull it down to 16-bit, this lights up and it will play the SNES carts. You can have two cartridges in at the same time if you want. It doesn't matter because this obviously sort of bank switches between them. The reset button, which is a nice clicky button, it resets the console, funnily enough. So I'll show you in a little sec. Let's see. So what do you get? You get your, this is hard to do with one hand, you get your Super Nintendo cloned controller, and obviously these are silver. You can get it in red and black, I think, but I thought the silver looked alright. You know, silver and black, very kind of 80s. The controllers, I don't really have a comparison against a real SNES controller. Sorry, I keep pulling things off camera. But this feels nice in the hand. It's quite light, but it's comfortable. It doesn't feel too cheap. I mean, you can give it a good, you know, a good thrashing, and it's not going to fall apart. And if it does, you know, you get a SNES controller, it's fine. I have heard purists saying that these are kind of too springy and don't feel right. They're absolutely fine for me. You've got your shoulder buttons, actual normal buttons, and these are the kind of rubbery start and select buttons. When you're playing Super Nintendo, obviously it is as shown. It maps to the real Super Nintendo controller. If you're playing NES games, bizarrely it doesn't use A and B. The NES, sorry, I'm sliding off again. The NES had an A and B button. It doesn't use those. It uses B as A, and it uses Y as B, which is a bit weird. But when you're, let me just swap the camera here. Let's see if I can do this. When you're actually holding it, it makes sense because your thumb sits like that. It doesn't, you know, you're not then having to jump about. So it's actually quite a nice design. I was a bit, you know, OCD at first and thought, oh God, why is B, A and A can't, you know, why can't it just be normal? But yeah, it actually works quite nice and it feels quite natural when you're playing. So it's quite a nice design, and obviously you get two of these controllers, both exactly the same. So it's quite nice that you get two controllers, because I mean, if I was to buy a SNES with two controllers, it would cost a pretty penny. So yeah, quite happy with that. And they both use just the kind of standard SNES type plug. You get you get your audio visual cable. It's quite long, which is quite nice. See if I can do this. There we go. So you've got your SVHS, if you want to, for the SNES, like I say, and then your kind of standard composite SCART. You don't get a SCART adapter or anything with it. You know, it's literally the phono cables, but it's nice that you get the cable with it. Some of these consoles don't give you the cable. So standard stuff there. This it was a little bit annoying. I didn't realise it was an American console when I bought it, so I was hoping to have a go while I was down in Blackpool. But the adapter that you get with it is a 2-pin, hopefully you can see that, a 2-pin US adapter. Now thankfully you don't need step down transformers or any of that weird nonsense. It's a 5 amp power adapter, but it runs on 110 to 240 volts, so this will run anywhere. The only thing you do need is one of these. The standard sort of, you know, 3-pin UK plug. This is a kind of multi-adapter. It'll do European, all sorts, Australian and God knows all what. But it's got the US plugs here. You can get these in Poundland in the UK. I actually got this from Amazon. It was, I think it was £2.50 or something like that. But you just need one of those. Let's try and do this with one hand. It just sits in like that. So dead easy, plug it in. Like I say, you don't need anything else. That's all you need to make this go. So yeah, so that's an overview of the console. Let me plug it up and I'll show you some gameplay, show you how the carts work and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so we've got the console set up. What I'm going to do is plug in, this is a US version of Super Mario Brothers. It's also got Duck Hunt and World Class Track Meet. Two other games which I can't play because Duck Hunt uses the zapper and World Class Track Meet uses some kind of sort of dance pad type thing, power pad I think it's called. So those are out the window, but I bought it just for Super Mario Brothers. Brothers, yes, Super Mario Bros. So this is a US cartridge which runs at the correct speed because this is a US console. So let me plug it in. There we go. You push this up, and it doesn't work. Hang on a second. Helps if you. There we go. Helps if you put the cartridge in correctly, doesn't it? So, Super Mario Brothers, like I say, there we go. The other ones don't work. So, because I'm on a, oh God, let's see if I can do this. Because I'm on the NES, I'll just use these buttons. So, there we go. So, Super Mario Brothers. I'm not going to play this much because I suck at it. But it's just like, so I'm really sorry about this flickering. But you'll hear it anyway. So there you go. Normal speed, all good. Let me just stop this. Right. Try and get this cartridge out with one hand. Oh God! Hang on, I'll be back in a second. Right, sorry about that. So here we have, this is the PAL version of Super Mario Brothers with Duck Hunt, and I'll put this in, and you'll hear. Let's see if I can get it in right. There we go. Right. So you'll hear the difference. I mean, it looks fine, you know, it plays fine there, but if I start it up, as soon as I start this, you'll hear. There we go, it's Mario on speed, quite literally. Oh God, I suck. There you go. So, I mean, speed-wise, it doesn't actually play. It doesn't play too different, but that. Yeah, see that just sucks. So let me turn this off. God, hang on, I'm going to have to do another. Right, sorry, I'm back. They're not that hard to get out normally, but I think just because I'm trying to do this with one hand and hold on to cameras and stuff. Anyway, I've put in the PAL version of Excitebike. Let's just switch it on. Now I have no reference, but that sounds to me as if it's fine. You know. Let me see. There we go. Start. So this all seems to be fine, from what I can tell. I really suck because I'm basically holding this thing with but you get the idea. You can, there we go. All good fun. So yeah, so it's a bit weird that, let's pause it. It's a bit weird that that's a PAL cartridge and it runs at full speed. So it does say in the manual that, you know, 100% compatibility is not guaranteed with PAL cartridges. So it is a little bit hit and miss. There are some compatibility lists on the internet, but they're by no means complete. So like I say, it's a little bit hit and miss about what works and what doesn't. But it's fine. You just, if you, like I say, if you buy NTSC carts, they're guaranteed to be at the correct speed, so not too big an issue. There's plenty kicking about. So anyway, let me do one of my fantastic cuts, and I'll show you some SNES action. Okay, so I've double stacked this so that you can see you can put in two carts at the same time. We've got a US cart of the original Robocop, and hopefully you can see that. Let's see if I can get down far enough. Robocop 3, which is a PAL cart, a European cartridge. So I'll drop it up to 8-bit first. There we go, there is Robocop. all its 8-bit goodness. There's Robo. Again, I suck because I'm trying to play this with one hand, but anyway, you get the idea. All good fun. So I don't need to take any carts out. You just switch it off and then switch it down, and it goes into SNES mode. So there we go. There is the PAL version of Robocop 3. There we go. Sounds very Amiga, but it's not. Nice picture of Robocop there. So there we go. Oh god, I suck. Oh, I'm shooting the wrong way. Die. There we go. And this is obviously using the 4 buttons of the SNES pad and the shoulder button select weapons, I think. So, but it's all good. Apart from I absolutely suck. Anyway, this is hard enough to play at the best of times. The reset button, if I press reset, it obviously just resets the console, so it's all good fun. Anyway, that was my quick review of the Retro Duo console. Hopefully you enjoyed it and it's been semi-informative. The only last thing I wanted to add actually is, let me just wobble this a little bit. The last thing I wanted to add is that some people have said that the sound on this, the NES is a little bit off. It's a little bit sort of muted. Again, I've no comparison. It sounds alright to me. If I do find it an issue, there's a hack that you can do. All you need is a resistor and a capacitor, and there are instructions on the internet on how to do this. Quick bit of soldering, and it kind of opens it up to full NES compatibility. So yeah, I mean it's a great little console for £35, for less than the price of a modern game. You know, you can get this cracking console. So yeah, let me know what you think. If you want to see anything else, you know, I've got a bit of a limited stock at the moment of NES and SNES games, but hopefully, you know, going forward I'll get some more. If you want to see anything, you know, let me know and I'll do what I can. So yeah, let me know what you thought of the vid, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers guys, bye.